How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Mike Striker. Mike Striker is brought to you by 99spark.com, discussion and empowerment for the socially aware. As I mentioned in the previous episode of Mike Striker, we're essentially going to be covering lots of different things here, political issues, non-political issues. What I also want to do is start an advice section. So I would love for followers to message me with any questions that they have um, uh, in terms of relationships, dating, um, just regular life questions, just things that don't quite make sense to you. Um, I will do my best to give you my 2 cents. I'm not saying that I am a psychologist. I'm not saying that I am professionally trained, but what I am saying is that I have pretty good common sense, and oftentimes it takes somebody who is outside of your situation to reflect accurately on what you're going through and give you good advice. So please send in comments, leave me a message, and I would be glad to answer them. That being said, the other topic that I wanted to discuss today uh, was this whole issue with the national anthem. I understand that this issue is a deeply divisive issue. Um, I think that the answer to this problem lies in the ability to be objective and the ability to see things from other people's point of view. And I think that goes both ways. I think that people who feel affected by police brutality, when I mention police brutality, I think that it's very important to distinguish the difference between good cops and bad cops. There are many more good cops than bad cops, and I think that not enough is done to address that fact. Um, I personally am non-white. I am a black guy, and I would say that I have been pulled over my fair share of times. And to be honest with you, I haven't had any negative experiences with police. Um, Scratch that. I have had one negative experience with police, and it so happens that the guy who pulled me over and gave me the one negative experience that I've ever had with police was a black police guy, was a black cop. This cop told me that he was going to tear me a new asshole. I've never ever had a cop talk to me like that, ever. Um, that being said, I understand that that is my personal experience, and I understand that not everybody has the same experience. So back to my original point, the distinguish the distinction has to be made between good cops and bad cops. Now, there are many people who feel that if you're benefiting from living in this country, you should stand up and respect the anthem. And my response to that is the anthem is a song. That's literally all it is. It's a song. It's a song that's supposed to reflect the values of this country. There are some people out there who are not standing for the anthem because they don't feel that the values that we're supposed to be upholding in this country apply to them for whatever reason. What I'm saying is that it takes understanding on both sides to figure this issue out. Why are these football players not standing during the national anthem? Oh my God, they make millions of dollars. It doesn't matter. They've profited. They're rich from this country, and now they don't want to stand. If you have that mentality, you're literally missing the entire point of why these players are not standing for the anthem. If you take a few seconds to listen to what any of these guys have to say, what they're going to tell you, and don't take my word for it, you can go ahead on YouTube, check out their interviews, you'll hear them say the same thing. What they're doing is they're using their position of influence as a platform to protest something that they think is wrong. What they think is wrong is abuse by the very people who are supposed to be protecting the citizens of this country. The very people who are supposed to be protecting them, they feel, are abusing their power. Now, before you write off what they're protesting and say that it's not true, I want you to ask yourself, is that necessarily accurate? Can you truly say that there is no abuse by bad cops in this country? Not cops in general, bad cops. Because as I stated before, there are just as many good cops. There are many more good cops than bad cops. But there are bad cops. And there are people who are at the receiving end. But there are bad cops. And there are people who are at the receiving end of bad cops. And that's not right. And it's my honest opinion that if you get upset at disrespecting a song, but you don't get upset at disrespecting other human beings, you've got a huge, huge problem. There's an entire contingent in this country who is on the receiving end of bad policing. And you may not see it where you live. You may not see it when you drive because of whatever your circumstances are. But just because you don't see it doesn't mean other people aren't seeing it. There are plenty of other people out there seeing it. And these football players want a platform to be able to speak for those other people who are receiving this unfair treatment, who can't say anything about their situations. That's what they're doing when they protest the national anthem. They're not saying that they hate this country. They're not saying that they don't want to be here. They're not saying that they can't stand the people who live in this country. That's not what they're saying. They're saying that this is an issue. Police brutality is an issue in this country that needs to be addressed. When the very people who are charged with protecting you are abusing their power, that is a huge problem that needs to be addressed. So, at the end of the day, what are you saying, Mike? What I'm saying is that if you have a problem with people disrespecting a song, but you don't have a problem with human beings being disrespected, you don't have a problem with disrespecting fellow American citizens based on whatever, based on their ethnicity, based on the color of their skin, based on preconceived notions. If you have a problem with disrespecting a song, but you don't have a problem with disrespecting other human beings, what I mean by that is this. Of all the people complaining about the fact that the anthem is being disrespected and that these players are not standing up for the anthem, how many of you have ever said anything about the fact that there is a bad contingent of police out there who is causing a lot of damage in certain communities? That innocent people are being shot and in unfortunate circumstances killed. And it's not always race. It's not always race. Unfortunately, the majority of the time, it appears to be based on race. But the abuse of power crosses racial lines. What I'm saying is, for every one of you who has a problem with people not standing for the national anthem, how many of you have ever said anything? However, how many of you have ever protested? How many of you have ever tried to bring attention? How many of you have ever tried to bring attention to the fact that there are people who are being victimized by a contingent of police who are intent on abusing their power? My guess is not many, right? So this takes some objectivity. It takes empathy. It takes being able to understand that just because you don't experience something a certain way doesn't mean that other people don't experience something in that way. As always, guys, I welcome comments, reflections, responses, anything. I'd love to discuss this issue with the people who are watching. Thank you so much for watching Mike Striker, guys. Really appreciate it. Once again, this is brought to you by 99spark.com. Discussion and empowerment for the socially aware. Thank you. This has been Mike Striker, and I will talk to you soon.